Good morning. Oh my God, and what a sunny morning it is. And why not? Because we are seeing the bright and lovely LuAnn Nigara this morning of a Well-Designed Business podcast. We're going to be heading to Window Works and to LuAnn's home to, find out a little bit more about this lovely lady. She's just recently written a book. She's so inspiring to so many people. And on her podcast, she has the best guests and asks the best questions. And I'm really excited to find out a little bit more about her. So here we go. We're going to go and see her. Before we get to LuAnn, be sure that you're subscribed to my channel. It's Claire Jefford Coaching, and hit the little bell on the right hand side, and that way you will be notified when I do new videos which will help you run your successful interior design business with my no-nonsense approach to success. And on my YouTube channel is where you're going to be able to catch the full unedited version of my interview with LuAnn. It went on for a little bit longer than this video, and we got a lot of great stuff that's in there that you're not going to want to miss. Hello!
You're here! Oh, I'm so happy to see you! I know, this is great. I love it.
So it's my first time in New Jersey, and here's the lovely LuAnn.
Yes,
I can't wait to get
Claire's here in Window Works. I'm like so excited. This is be awesome.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, I have so many questions for you.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
All right.
What is my why? Well, the why has two separate parts. So it's a chicken and an egg. So the real live story is that I was on a podcast it'll be 3 years ago this summer, and the podcast was called Weird Entrepreneurs. And then right after that, I got invited to be on another podcast. And the fact is that when I hung up the Skype call from the first podcast, I was just like, oh, sweet Jesus, I need to do that. I'm in the third floor bedroom of my house, my podcast studio. So my process is that when a guest is about to come on the show, I will kneel down here in front of my big Post-it, and I have my laptop here, and I will Google this guest. And I first go with whatever information the guest has given me, but then I just put you out on the Google, and I Google you in YouTube, and I Google you in iTunes, and I find out anything I can. And then I come up with a bullet point list. And then what I do is when it's time for my podcast interview, I take my handy dandy vision board here and I flip it around, and then I take that big Post-it and I stick it on here. And so then I come over here to my podcast desk and I close my cravat drapery, and then I sit here at the podcast desk, and I would normally have my laptop here, and then my Post-it is right there with all of my questions. And then what I have over here is my generic questions when I'm out of something to say. Okay? So, and these are from Colleen Prim. Colleen Prim wrote to me November 6th, 16, and she said, questions that I would love you to ask. And they were so representative of the questions that I was getting that I put them here. And this is my goddess tiger here. If you remember the show with Kathy Hartigan, she said you have to have something of power behind you. That's a feng shui thing. And so my whole thing has always been, I've always raised my daughters to say that you have your inner voice as your goddess voice. And so I was looking on the internet that literally the day her show, as soon as I got done, I was like, I need a power thing behind me. What's my power thing? And she was like, it could be a mountain. It could be an ocean. It could be, anything. And so I Googled power images, and this tiger came up, and I was like, then the name of it was Goddess, and I was like, well, that is my power image. She's just so fierce, and she's so focused, and she's so like she's gonna get it done, right? Like I was like, you're my baby now, you're my goddess, yeah. One of my listeners gave this to me, LuAnn Nigara, podcast queen. I have to remind myself to say yes and not yeah. So I have yes written all over around me. And silence is okay between words. I'm trying to get rid of likes and That's not hard. So easy to do.
Okay.
So we're just showing you all my green clothes. I have all my green outfits here. Yes. So
getting a look into the closet.
Here. Like, don't mind the rest. Don't look at the rest.
That's okay. Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I don't care. And these are all my green T-shirts for Skype calls and Zoom calls.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for showing us that little glimpse into your closet.
Say hi to Claire.
You're so
doesn't have a full grasp of this community that we're involved with, that we're so lucky to be part of. And that when you go to a place for the first time, that you are immediately, the second time we meet each other, we like had to talk for 9 hours before we like put
the parking
camera.
lot. Chris is like, are we going to do this?
Exactly, right? And so he doesn't have that level of understanding of how you really could feel like you know somebody. And he also doesn't really have the advantage of seeing and understanding and reading the ways that the podcast and the book and the coaching is impacting the lives of interior designers.
Well, because he's here running the business,
right? Yes, exactly. And he's sort of like, what do you have to go to Vegas for? Like, what do you have to go to High Point for? Like, can't you just do it?
Fun, right?
Can't you just do it from home? And I'm like, well, he's a double-edged sword of total cheerleader, supporter. Oh my God, this is incredible! And really, and is it making money? And what are you doing? And where are you going? And why are you going there? Like, what is the why on that? He's like, what are you getting out of it? Why would you go? So it's the best combination of all, because I respect his opinion immensely,
and he keeps you accountable. Right?
He younger, I would have run headlong,
right?
You know what I mean? And he doesn't understand that I wouldn't now, but I know I would not. But it's always good to have him there going, hello, Earth to LuAnn, what's happening?
Time and time again, honestly, people are saying they love that they're sitting there and they're listening, and then they think, oh, I just wish she'd asked this question. If she just asked it, and then you ask that question. You literally go, well, hang on a second, I just want to step back a little bit and ask that. And we're like, how do you know that? How does she read minds?
I know.
Right?
Well, because I'm in it with you.
Yeah, you are.
You know what I mean? I'm in it. I am in it 110%.
You are. We love
I
that.
am not like thinking about my next question. I am not thinking about, well, I wanted the interview to go this way.
I've got something to do later. You're like, you're there.
I am there. And if you just said something to me that I'm just sort of like, I don't get that.
You step back.
Then I'm like, wait, you got to explain that again, because that didn't make sense. There's been a lot of situations that I do already understand what we're talking about. But it's exactly that. Not everybody in the audience is at the same level. So I'll just be like, okay. I mean, I think you can tell when I actually don't understand. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't get it.
What was kind of like one of your favorite aha moments that you learned something from one of your guests that you then thought, I'm going to use this in my business?
Okay. So two different ways. So for something that I've learned from guests that we put into our business is the Monday morning meetings.
Okay.
We went, 34 years without having Monday morning meetings.
Right.
And the reality is that what was funny in hearing that, here's my aha. If I had been talking to an interior designer that is him or herself and maybe one assistant, and they had a meeting every Monday morning, I'd be like, oh, that's good for you. I'm glad you do that. That's awesome to do. But I've got 10 people and this is too big. We can't sit down. We can't sit still. You know what I mean? For every Monday morning, right? But what happened was I started to hear over and over again, Laura Umansky, Marie Flanagan, Chad James, these firms with 10, 12, 15 employees, and some of them, like Laura Umansky, does offices wherever her two places are. Right. See, this is where it's starting to go after 300 episodes.
Sure, fair enough. We won't blame you for that.
Yeah, like I remember her and I remember her lesson, but I remember her two offices are. But, out of town a lot, and still, like, the Monday morning meeting is non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And so I was like, and it made me also recall that it was something that we used to do.
Right.
So there was a point, like we opened up one showroom. Within 6 months, we opened up a second showroom, and another year after that, we opened a third showroom.
Right.
And so we had 3 showrooms. They were all about 10, 12, 15 miles apart from each other in a triangle. And Vin used to, like, every 3 weeks, we used to close the other 2 showrooms at like 3 o'clock, and every 3 weeks, all the employees from the other showrooms would drive to our one showroom, and we would have a meeting.
Yeah.
And so I was like, we got to do this.
Yeah.
And so we started doing it. It'll be 2 years in September since we started doing it. And it really, really is.
Helps you regroup, helps you just figure out what's on track. Are we still doing our mission?
Absolutely. So it started from, because it's everything we say in business. You have to be passionate about it, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's work.
Yeah.
It's a job.
Yeah.
It's still a job. And so I knew that as much as I love triathlons and I loved this and I love mothering, I love to talk about philosophies on raising children and all that stuff. But I knew that wouldn't get me out of bed. It'd be like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
And it took me that 6 or 8 weeks or whatever it was. But when I landed on it, I knew I landed on it.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me here.
Yes, thank you.
And you're wearing green.
I know,
you're
that
green.
is great.
Yeah. All right. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I really loved being here with LuAnn. And if you're not already following LuAnn and listening to her podcast, be sure that you do that. It's a well-designed business. Click on the podcast. Make sure you get on the list. As well, I've been on her episodes a couple of times. We got episode 325 as well as 237, so be sure to check those out. And be sure to go get my design packages and rates sheet with coaching video for free. This will help you package up all those great services that you have to offer to your clients. See you next time.
I'm going to have to stop this one.
Is it?
It's overheating.